Why was she just standing there, letting them laugh at her? The parking lot outside Riverside Elementary was already half empty when the first insult landed. Maya Torres stood beside her decade-old Honda, one hand holding her son's backpack, the other clutching his small hand. She was 54, maybe 120 pounds soaking wet, wearing scrubs from her shift at the urgent care clinic. Nothing about her suggested danger. Nothing about her made anyone think twice. And that's exactly how she designed it. "Mommy, can we go?" 7-year-old Diego tugged at her hand, his voice small, worried. He'd heard the men approaching before she had. Kids always do. 3 of them, mid-30s, gym-built bodies wrapped in designer athleisure that screamed new money and old insecurities. The one in front, Chad something or other, had a son in Diego's second-grade class. His wife drove a Range Rover and organized the PTA fundraisers. Maya had seen them before, noticed them, filed them away in the part of her brain that never stopped cataloging threats. "Hey, welfare mom." Chad's voice carried across the parking lot, loud enough for the remaining parents to hear, loud enough to make sure everyone knew he was talking to her. "You park that piece of junk somewhere else next time. My wife's Mercedes needs more space." Maya didn't respond. She'd learned years ago that silence was often the strongest weapon. She simply opened Diego's door, helped him into his booster seat, and started buckling him in. Her movements were slow, deliberate, the kind of calm that came from somewhere deep and dark and trained. "I'm talking to you." Chad stepped closer, his friends flanking him like he was leading a patrol, like he knew what that meant. "You speak English, or should I get someone to translate?" Maya's jaw tightened, just slightly. A micro-expression that lasted maybe half a second. But in that half-second, something ancient stirred behind her eyes. Something that had seen things these men couldn't imagine in their worst nightmares. Diego was watching her face from inside the car. "Mom." "It's okay, baby. Close your eyes for me." "But." "Eyes closed, Diego. Count to 60, just like we practiced." The boy's face scrunched up, confused but obedient. He'd learned to trust his mother's quiet instructions, especially when her voice got that particular tone. Soft but absolute, like bedrock. Chad grabbed her shoulder and spun her around. His hand was large, meaty, probably used to getting what it wanted. "Don't walk away when I'm—" He didn't finish the sentence. Because in the space between one heartbeat and the next, everything changed. Maya's hand came up, not aggressive, just removing his grip from her shoulder with a precision that made it look effortless. But the way his face contorted suggested it wasn't effortless for him. Her fingers had found pressure points he didn't know existed, points that sent lightning bolts of pain shooting down his arm. "Please don't touch me." Her voice was still soft, still polite, still the voice of a tired single mother trying to get through another Tuesday, but underneath it was steel, and ice, and something that made Chad's 2 friends take an involuntary step back. "You bitch." Chad's free hand cocked back. A telegraphed punch, sloppy with rage and entitlement. The kind of punch thrown by someone who'd never actually been in a real fight, who'd never faced consequences, who'd never learned that the quietest person in the room was sometimes the most dangerous. What happened next took exactly 1.3 seconds. Maya's weight shifted, her body moving with a fluidity that didn't match her civilian clothes or her suburban camouflage. She ducked under his swing, her hand guiding his momentum past her, using his own force against him. Basic physics, advanced training. He stumbled forward off balance, and her foot swept his legs out from under him with surgical precision. Chad hit the asphalt hard. The sound echoed across the parking lot like a gunshot. His friends froze, staring, processing, not quite believing what they'd just seen. The quiet clinic worker, the woman who smiled shyly at parent-teacher conferences, the one who always volunteered to bring paper plates to the potlucks because she couldn't afford to make fancy desserts, had just dropped a man twice her size without breaking a sweat. Maya straightened, brushing an invisible speck of dust from her scrubs. Her breathing hadn't changed. Controlled. 4 counts in, 4 counts out. The kind of breathing pattern they taught in places where staying calm meant staying alive. "Are you okay?" she asked Chad, extending a hand to help him up. Genuine concern in her voice. Like maybe he'd tripped. Like maybe this was all just an unfortunate accident. He slapped her hand away, scrambling to his feet, his face purple with humiliation and rage. "You crazy bitch, I'm calling the cops. That's assault." "Is it?" Maya tilted her head slightly. "I'd say it was self-defense. You touched me first. Grabbed me, actually. Then attempted to strike me. Multiple witnesses." She gestured around the parking lot where a dozen parents stood with phones out, several of them recording. "But you're welcome to call whoever you'd like." The second friend, the one with the tribal tattoo sleeve, stepped forward. Bigger than Chad. Dumber, too, if his next words were any indication. "You need to learn your place, lady. Maybe we should teach you some respect." Maya's eyes went flat. Empty. The transformation was so complete, so total, that even Diego peeked through his fingers from the car seat, sensing the shift in his mother's energy. But before tribal tattoo could move, an elderly voice cut through the tension. "I wouldn't do that if I were you, son." Everyone turned. An old man in his 70s stood beside a pristine vintage Mustang, arms crossed, watching the scene with the kind of attention that suggested military training. His VFW cap sat at a precise angle, and his posture, despite his age, was ramrod straight. "This doesn't concern you, old man," Tribal Tattoo sneered. "Maybe not, but I know exactly what you're about to do, and I know exactly how it'll end." The old man's eyes locked onto Maya, really looked at her, at the way she stood, at the controlled breathing, at the micro-adjustments in her stance that kept her balanced and ready. "Because I've seen people like her before, in places you've never heard of, doing things you couldn't imagine." Chad was back on his feet now, phone in hand. "I'm calling my lawyer, and the school board. You're going to regret this." "Probably," Maya said quietly. "But not as much as you're going to regret the next 5 seconds if you don't get in your car and leave." There was no threat in her voice. No anger, just fact. Simple, undeniable fact, like saying the sky was blue or water was wet. Something in that certainty made Chad hesitate. Made all 3 men hesitate. Because people who speak with that kind of quiet confidence usually have the ability to back it up. The third friend, who'd been silent until now, tugged at Chad's sleeve. "Come on, man, let's just go. This is stupid." "She assaulted me." "You grabbed her first, dumbass. It's all on camera." He jerked his head toward the phones. "You want that on the news? Local businessman assaults single mother in school parking lot. Think about it." The truth of that landed. Chad's face cycled through several shades of red before settling on a defeated purple. "This isn't over," he spat at Maya. "Yes," she said calmly, "it is." They left. 3 grown men, retreating from a woman who barely came up to their shoulders. As their lifted truck roared out of the parking lot, the gathered parents began to disperse, some looking at Maya with new eyes, others hurrying away like they'd witnessed something that made them uncomfortable. The old veteran approached slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. "You handled that well, ma'am." "I didn't want to handle it at all." Maya's voice carried genuine regret. Exhaustion. The kind that came from fighting battles that should never have been necessary. "I'm sure you didn't, but for what it's worth." He paused, studying her face. "Thank you for your service." Maya's breath caught. "Just for a second, I'm sorry." "Don't play games with me, young lady. I saw how you moved, the breathing, the stance, the way you assessed threats and calculated responses before they even developed." He tapped his VFW cap. "Vietnam, Special Forces, long time ago, but you don't forget. And you," he nodded with respect. "You were Spec Ops, wasn't you?" "I'm a medical assistant at an urgent care clinic." "Now maybe, but before." He didn't push, just nodded. "Well, whatever you did, I'm glad people like you exist, or existed. Makes me sleep better at night." He walked away before she could respond. leaving Maya standing alone beside her car, her hands starting to shake now that the adrenaline was fatting. "Mommy," Diego's voice, small and scared, pulled her back. "Are you in trouble?" She slid into the driver's seat, turned around to face her son. His dark eyes, so much like his father's, searched her face for answers she wasn't ready to give. Not yet. Maybe not ever. "No, baby, I'm not in trouble. Those men were mean to you. Sometimes people are mean. It's not about us, it's about them. But you made him fall down. He lost his balance." Diego wasn't buying it. 7 years old and already too smart for his own good. "You did that thing you do when we practice." Maya froze. They did practice. Self-defense basics framed as fun games: how to break a grip, where to strike if someone grabbed you, how to run and where to run to. Every mother taught their child safety. She just taught hers a little differently. "We'll talk about it at home, okay?" The drive home was silent. 15 minutes through suburban streets where every house looked the same, where every lawn was the same shade of green, where every family pretended to be the same kind of normal. Maya had chosen this neighborhood specifically for its blandness, for its anonymity, for the way it allowed her to disappear into the background. But disappearing was getting harder. Their apartment was on the second floor of a modest complex. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, affordable rent that ate up most of her paycheck. But it was theirs. Safe. Or as safe as anywhere could be when your past included classified missions in countries that officially didn't exist. Diego went straight to his room, still quiet, processing what he'd seen. Maya watched him go, her heart breaking a little. She tried so hard to give him a normal life. A childhood without fear, without violence, without the weight of secrets that could crush a grown adult, let alone a 7-year-old boy. She pulled out her phone, stared at it for a long moment, then made a call she'd sworn she'd never make again. It rang 3 times before a familiar voice answered, professional, cautious. "This is a secure line, identify yourself." "It's Wraith." The code name felt foreign on her tongue now, like speaking a language she tried to forget. "I think I might have a problem." There was a pause, longer than necessary. When the voice came back, it carried surprise and something else. Concern, maybe. "Wraith, it's been what, 4 years?" 4 years, 2 months, 16 days. "But who's counting, right?" A dry laugh. "What kind of problem?" "The kind where I just took down a civilian in a school parking lot, in front of witnesses, in front of my son." "Justified." "He grabbed me first, attempted to strike me. Multiple witnesses recorded it." "Then you're legally clear, so why are you calling?" Maya walked to her window, looked out at the parking lot below. Normal people coming home from normal jobs to live normal lives. Everything she'd wanted when she walked away. Everything she'd almost achieved. "Because he's going to dig into my background, and if he digs deep enough, he'll find nothing. Your cover is solid, best the agency ever built. As far as any civilian database knows, Maya Torres is exactly who she appears to be. Single mother, medical assistant, unremarkable. Unless he hires someone good, someone who knows where to look." Another pause. "Do you need extraction?" The question hung in the air. Extraction. New identity. New city, new life. Again, Diego would hate it. Another school. Another set of friends he'd have to leave behind, but he'd survive it. She'd make sure he survived it. "Not yet, but I wanted to give you a heads up, in case things escalate." "Understood, we'll keep an eye on the situation." "And Wraith?" "Yeah. Try not to break any more civilians. The paperwork is hell." The line went dead. Maya set her phone down, pressed her palms against the cool glass of the window. Her reflection stared back at her, a ghost wearing scrubs and exhaustion. Somewhere deep inside that ghost was Lieutenant Commander Maya Torres, United States Navy SEAL, one of the first women to complete Bud-S training, veteran of operations in 7 countries, holder of 3 Purple Hearts and 2 Bronze Stars. But that woman was supposed to be dead, killed in a training accident in 2019, official records, closed casket funeral, full honors. The woman standing here now was someone else, someone smaller, quieter, someone who couldn't afford to be remembered. Mom, Diego appeared in her doorway, his favorite stuffed whale clutched to his chest. Are we going to have to move again? The question broke her heart because he'd asked it before. 3 years ago when they'd left Virginia, before that when they'd left California, always moving, always running, always one step ahead of a past that refused to stay buried. I don't know, baby, I hope not. I like my school. I know. I have friends. I know. I don't want to leave. His voice cracked, and in that crack was every sacrifice she'd ever asked him to make, every friend he'd lost, every place he'd had to call temporary instead of home. Maya crossed the room, pulled him into her arms, felt his small body shake with silent tears. Then we won't, we'll stay, we'll figure it out. Promise. She wanted to promise. God, how she wanted to promise. But promises were dangerous. Promises could be broken by forces outside her control, by men digging too deep, by the past catching up no matter how fast you ran. I promise to do everything I can. It wasn't the answer he wanted, but it was the only truth she had to give. That night after Diego finally fell asleep, Maya sat at her kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a laptop. She pulled up the news, searching for any mention of the parking lot incident. Nothing yet. But tomorrow, when Chad's humiliation had time to ferment into anger, when his lawyer started making calls, when his wife started social media campaigns. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But instinct, old and hardwired, made her pick up. Is this Maya Torres? A woman's voice, professional, pleasant, dangerous in its normalcy. Who's asking? My name is Jennifer Morrison. I'm a reporter with Channel 7 News. I received a very interesting video today. Shows you defending yourself against 3 men in a school parking lot. Quite impressive, actually. I was hoping we could talk. Maya's blood ran cold. I have no comment. Oh, I think you do. Because I've been digging into your background, Ms. Torres, and it's fascinating how little exists before 2020. Almost like you didn't exist at all before then. Which got me thinking, what kind of person needs that level of constructed identity? I think you have me confused with someone else. Do I? Because my source in the Pentagon, and yes, I have sources, mentioned something very interesting when I showed them your photo. They got this look on their face, like they'd seen a ghost. Maya's heart was racing now, but her voice stayed level, calm. I don't know what you think you know, but I know you're a story, and I'm very good at uncovering stories. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to meet, tomorrow, coffee shop of your choosing. And you're going to tell me who you really are, or I'm going to keep digging until I find out myself. And trust me, Ms. Torres, you don't want me to do that. Because when I dig, I make noise. And noise attracts attention. And I'm guessing attention is the last thing you want. The line went dead. Maya sat frozen, coffee cooling in her hands, mind racing through scenarios and contingencies and exit strategies. 4 years of carefully constructed peace, shattered in a single afternoon. All because 3 entitled men couldn't walk away. All because she defended herself for 30 seconds. All because some part of her, buried deep but never dead, still knew how to fight. Outside her window, the city lights glowed against the darkness. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that monsters existed. Unaware that sometimes the monsters were the ones who protected them. Maya Torres, whoever she was now, sat alone in her kitchen and wondered if it was possible to outrun your past forever. Or if eventually everyone's sins caught up. Even the sins of being too well trained to die quietly. Have you ever noticed how quickly a life can unravel? The coffee shop Jennifer Morrison chose was public, busy. The kind of place where conversations disappeared into the ambient noise of espresso machines and laptop keyboards. Smart choice. Professional. It told Maya that Morrison knew what she was doing, knew who she was dealing with, or at least knew enough to be careful. Maya arrived 15 minutes early, old habits kicking in automatically. She scanned exits, identified potential threats, cataloged faces, noted security cameras. The barista was college-age, distracted by her phone. The manager was in the back office, visible through the window, focused on inventory. 4 customers, 2 students studying, 1 businessman on a call, 1 elderly woman reading a newspaper. Normal, everything appeared normal. Which was exactly when things were most dangerous. She ordered a black coffee, chose a table with her back to the wall and a clear line of sight to the entrance. Old instincts she couldn't shake even if she wanted to. Diego was at school. She dropped him off early, watched him walk through those doors, memorized which teachers were on duty, which parents were lingering, which cars looked out of place. Everything was fine. Except nothing was fine. Jennifer Morrison walked in exactly on time. Mid-30s, professionally dressed, carrying a leather bag that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent. She was pretty in that carefully constructed way of television personalities, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, smile practiced. But her eyes were sharp, intelligent, predatory. "Miss Torres." Morrison extended her hand. Maya shook it, nodding, the firm grip, the confident eye contact. This woman was used to getting what she wanted. "Thank you for meeting me." Did I have a choice? Everyone has choices. Morrison sat down, pulled out a tablet, set it on the table between them. But some choices have better outcomes than others. "What do you want?" "The truth." Maya sipped her coffee, buying time, analyzing angles. "The truth is I'm a single mother who works at an urgent care clinic. I was assaulted yesterday. I defended myself. That's the story." "That's a story, not the story." Morrison tapped her tablet and a video began playing. The parking lot incident. High-quality footage, multiple angles. Someone had stitched together recordings from different phones into a comprehensive view. Maya watched herself move, saw the precision, the economy of motion, the way her body responded before her conscious mind seemed to engage. It looked exactly like what it was, professional training applied instinctively. "Impressive," Morrison said, "but you know what's more impressive? This." She swiped to a new image, an older photograph, grainy but clear enough, a military unit photo. 32 operators standing in front of an unmarked aircraft, all of them masked, all of them armed, all of them dangerous. One of them, third from the left in the back row, had the same stance Maya had in the parking lot video. Same shoulder alignment, same weight distribution. "This photo shouldn't exist," Morrison continued. "It was supposed to have been destroyed, classified operation, but nothing is ever truly destroyed in the digital age, and this particular operation, well, it made waves in certain intelligence circles." Maya kept her face neutral, but inside, alarms were screaming. That photo was from 2018. Operation Scorpion Glass, Syria. Extraction of a high-value target from an ISIS stronghold. 0 casualties on the American side. 43 enemy combatants neutralized. It had been her 4th mission as a SEAL. She'd been 29 years old and fearless in the way only the young and well-trained can be. "I don't know what you think you're looking at," Maya said quietly. "I think I'm looking at one of the most classified military operations of the decade. I think I'm looking at a unit that officially doesn't exist. And I think," Morrison leaned forward, "I think one of the people in this photo is sitting across from me right now, pretending to be someone they're not." "That's an interesting theory." "It's not a theory. I have confirmation from 3 separate sources, all off the record, of course, all terrified of what would happen if their names got attached to this story, but they confirmed it. There were women in this unit, not many, but a few, And one of them matches your build, your height, your general description. Maya's coffee tasted bitter. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to go on record. I want to tell your story, the real story. First woman to complete SEAL training, multiple combat deployments, classified operations that saved American lives. And then, what? You just disappeared, supposedly died. Why? You're describing someone who doesn't exist. I'm describing a hero who's being forced to hide. Morrison's voice softened, taking on that empathetic tone reporters used when they wanted sources to open up. Think about what you could do, the women and girls who would be inspired, the recognition you deserve, the validation for every woman who's ever been told they're not strong enough, not tough enough, not good enough. It was a good pitch. Maya could see why Morrison was successful. She knew exactly which buttons to push, which emotional triggers to engage. But she was pushing the wrong buttons. "And what about my son?" Maya asked quietly. Morrison blinked. "I'm sorry. My son, 7 years old, second grade. His entire life has been built on the identity I created. His school records, his birth certificate, his medical history. Everything traces back to Maya Torres, civilian. If you expose who I really am, what happens to him?" I would obviously be sensitive to. Would you? Because here's what happens when a classified operator gets exposed. The enemies they made during their service remember. They start looking. They start planning. And the easiest way to hurt a trained operative isn't to attack them directly. It's to attack what they love. Morrison's confident expression flickered, just slightly, like maybe she hadn't thought that through. "Diego doesn't know," Maya continued. "He thinks his mother is a medical assistant. He thinks his father died in a car accident before he was born. He thinks we live in this apartment because that's all we can afford. He doesn't know about classified missions or enemy combatants or the kind of people who would kill a 7-year-old boy to send a message. I wouldn't include information about your son in the story. But others would find it. The moment you publish my real name, my real history, someone will start digging, and they'll find him. They'll find where he goes to school. They'll find his friends. They'll find every single vulnerability." Maya's hands were steady on her coffee cup, but her voice carried steel. "So you need to ask yourself a question, Ms. Morrison. Is your story worth a child's life?" The coffee shop's ambient noise seemed to grow louder in the silence that followed. Morrison's practiced confidence had cracked, revealing something underneath. Maybe conscience, maybe doubt, maybe just the uncomfortable realization that journalism had real-world consequences. "What if we could protect you?" Morrison asked. "Witness protection, federal resources, security for both of you." "I don't want protection. I want to be invisible." "You're already invisible. You're hiding. There's a difference." "Is there?" Morrison leaned back, studying Maya with new eyes. "You know what I think? I think you're lonely. I think you're tired. I think maintaining this cover, living this half-life, raising a son who doesn't know who his mother really is, I think it's eating you alive." She wasn't wrong. Maya had been lonely for 4 years, exhausted for longer. The weight of secrets, of double lives, of being someone she wasn't while trying to forget someone she'd been. It was crushing. Slowly. Inevitably. But that didn't change the math. Diego's safety trumped her comfort. Every time. No exceptions. "I need you to bury this story," Maya said. "I can't do that." "You can, you choose not to." "There's a difference." "Is there?" Maya echoed Morrison's earlier words back at her. "Because from where I'm sitting, you have a choice. You can publish a story that puts a child in danger for the sake of clicks and recognition, or you can choose to walk away, to let some secrets stay buried, to prioritize a human life over a headline." Morrison's jaw tightened. "That's not fair." "Life isn't fair. If it were, I wouldn't have to have this conversation." "I could publish anyway. I don't need your permission." "You could, and I'd disappear again. New identity, new city. Diego would lose everything he knows again. and you'd get your story, but you'd also get whatever consequences come from exposing a classified operative without their consent. Maya's voice dropped even lower, and those consequences might surprise you. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality. There are people who keep secrets for good reasons, and there are systems in place to protect those secrets. When those systems feel threatened, they respond, usually not in ways reporters enjoy. Morrison's face had gone pale. You're saying, what, the government would come after me? I'm saying I don't control what happens if you publish. I'm just one person trying to live a quiet life. But the apparatus I used to work for, they're bigger than me, scarier than me, and they have very strong opinions about operational security. It wasn't entirely true. Maya had severed her official ties years ago. She was on her own, no safety net, no backup. But Morrison didn't need to know that. Sometimes the perception of power was enough. Morrison gathered her tablet, her professional composure reassembling itself like armor. This isn't over. I hope it is, for both our sakes. You're asking me to betray everything I believe in. Journalism is about truth, about exposing things people want to keep hidden, even when the truth puts innocent people in danger. Morrison stood, slinging her bag over her shoulder. You know what? Maybe you're not the hero I thought you were. Maybe you're just someone running away. Maybe I am, but I'm running toward something too, toward a life where my son doesn't have to be afraid, where he can just be a kid. Is that really so terrible? Morrison didn't answer. She walked out, heels clicking on the tile floor, leaving Maya alone with cold coffee and colder realizations. The conversation had gone better than it could have, worse than it should have. Morrison wasn't convinced. She'd keep digging, keep pushing, keep trying to crack the story open. Which meant Maya had maybe a week before this all came crashing down. She pulled out her phone, sent a text to a number she rarely used. Coffee went bad, need contingency. The response came within seconds, standing by. Maya deleted both messages, finished her coffee, and tried to convince herself that everything would be okay. That Morrison would see reason. That Diego would never have to know about any of this. But deep down, in the part of herself that had survived combat and betrayal and impossible missions, she knew better. Some secrets, once disturbed, could never settle again. She left the coffee shop and drove to Diego's school, sat in her car in the parking lot, watching the playground. Her son was out there somewhere, laughing with friends, playing tag, being 7 years old and oblivious to the storm gathering around them. Her phone rang, the same secure line from yesterday. I saw your text, the voice said. What happened? Maya explained about Morrison, about the photo, about the threats veiled and explicit. Jesus Wraith, how did a reporter even get that photo? Does it matter? Actually, yeah, it matters a lot. That image was supposed to be locked down tighter than Fort Knox. If someone leaked it, then you have a bigger problem than me. But right now, I need solutions, not investigations. A long sigh. Extraction is still on the table. We can have you both out of there in 12 hours. New identities, new state, full support. Diego just settled in. He has friends, a teacher he likes, stability. He'll have a target on his back if this goes public. Only if Morrison publishes. You think you can stop her? Maya watched her son through the chain-link fence. He was hanging upside down from the monkey bars, his face red with laughter, completely, beautifully unaware. I don't know, but I have to try. For what it's worth, I think you're making a mistake. The agency can protect you, but only if you let us. The agency would own me again, own both of us. I didn't fight my way out just to volunteer back in. Fair enough. But when this blows up and Wraith, it will blow up. Don't say I didn't warn you. The line went dead. Maya sat in her car until the bell rang and children started streaming out. Diego found her, backpack bouncing, smile wide. "Mommy, guess what? I got 100 on my spelling test." She hugged him tight, tighter than necessary. He squirmed, laughing. "Mom, you're squishing me." "Sorry, baby, I'm just proud of you. Can we get ice cream to celebrate?" Normal, he wanted normal things, normal rewards for normal achievements, and she wanted so desperately to give him that. "Of course we can." They went to the ice cream shop 3 blocks from school. Diego got chocolate with rainbow sprinkles. Maya got vanilla and tried not to scan every face, every car, every potential threat. "Mom," Diego's voice pulled her back. "Are you okay? You seem sad." "Just tired, honey." "Is it because of those mean men yesterday?" "No, they're gone. They won't bother us again." At least that part was true. Chad and his friends had been very quiet since the incident, probably under strict orders from lawyers to stay far away from Maya tours. But one problem solved, just then another emerged. That night, after Diego was asleep, Maya did what she'd sworn she'd never do again. She opened her closet, pushed aside the winter coats she rarely needed in their mild climate, found the small safe hidden behind them, entered the combination she'd memorized but never written down. Inside were things Maya Torres, medical assistant, would never need. A passport under a different name, $10,000 in cash, a USB drive containing encrypted files, and at the bottom, wrapped in oilcloth, something she'd promised herself she'd never touch again. Her old service weapon, Sig Sauer P226, custom grip, 15 rounds, plus 2 spare magazines. She'd qualified expert with it, had used it in combat situations most people couldn't imagine. It felt heavy in her hands, familiar, like meeting an old friend who reminded you of things you'd rather forget. Maya checked the weapon with practiced efficiency. Still clean, still functional, still ready. She shouldn't keep it, shouldn't even have it. But some habits, some precautions died harder than others. Her phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. "You were right to be cautious. I'm not publishing, yet, but I'm not giving up either. The truth matters, even when it's inconvenient." Maya stared at the message, couldn't decide if it was a victory or a threat, maybe both. She responded, "Thank you for the consideration." Morrison's reply came immediately. "Don't thank me. I'm still digging. I'm just being more careful about it." The weapon sat on her kitchen table. The message glowed on her phone. And somewhere in the next room, her son slept peacefully, dreaming 7-year-old dreams. Maya Torres, whoever she really was, sat between her past and her present, wondering which one would win. And knowing, deep down, that eventually she'd have to stop running. Eventually, everyone had to make a stand. The only question was whether she'd be ready when that moment came. Or if ready even mattered when the odds were already stacked against you. What would you do if everything you built was crumbling? The email arrived at 6:47 a.m., 3 days after Maya's meeting with Jennifer Morrison. Subject line, "We need to talk." Sender, Chad Berkshire at Berkshire Investments. Maya stared at her phone, coffee growing cold in her hand. Diego was still asleep. The apartment was quiet. Outside, the city was just beginning to wake up, and in her inbox, a new threat emerged. She opened the email. "Ms. Torres, I've been advised by my legal team to avoid direct contact with you. However, I believe we have a mutual problem that requires immediate attention. A reporter named Jennifer Morrison has contacted me asking questions about the incident in the school parking lot. She seems very interested in your background. Specifically, in gaps she's discovered in your history. Normally, I would have no interest in helping you, but my lawyer made an excellent point. If your past becomes public knowledge, it could affect my own reputation by association. I'd rather avoid that publicity entirely. I'm proposing a meeting, neutral location, no lawyers, just a conversation about how we can both make this situation disappear." If you're interested, there's a diner on Route 9 just outside of town. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Come alone. Chad Berkshire. Maya read it 3 times, analyzing every word for hidden meaning. This was a trap, obviously. Chad wasn't the type to let go of humiliation easily. Men like him needed to win, needed to dominate, needed to restore their wounded pride. But he was also right about one thing. Morrison was a problem for both of them. And Maya had learned long ago that enemy of my enemy wasn't always a friend, but sometimes they could be useful. She sent a simple reply, "I'll be there." The rest of the day passed in a blur of normal routines. Getting Diego ready for school, driving to work, taking vitals for patients who had no idea the woman checking their blood pressure had once cleared buildings in Mosul. Smile, nod, be invisible. But invisibility was getting harder to maintain. At lunch, her supervisor pulled her aside. Linda was 50-something, kind-hearted, the type who brought in homemade cookies and remembered everyone's birthdays. "Maya, honey, is everything okay?" Linda's concern was genuine. "You've seemed distracted lately." "Just tired. Diego's been having nightmares." "Poor thing. Listen, if you need some time off." "No, I'm fine, really." But she wasn't fine, and the concerned look in Linda's eyes said she knew it. That evening, Maya made Diego's favorite dinner, spaghetti with meatballs. They ate together at their small table, and he chattered about his day, about recess, about how Emma had shared her cookies at lunch, about how Mr. Peterson said his science project was really good. Normal, beautiful, fragile. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Diego's voice had that careful tone kids use when they're afraid of the answer. "Always." "Why don't we have pictures?" Maya's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. "What do you mean?" "Like old pictures. Emma's house has all these photos on the wall. Her as a baby, her parents when they were young, her grandparents. We don't have any of those." Because Maya tours didn't exist before 2020. Because the woman she'd been before couldn't have those memories publicly displayed. Because every photograph was a potential security breach. "We had a fire," Maya said quietly. "When you were little, we lost a lot of things." "Oh," Diego processed this. "That's sad." "It is, but we're making new memories now, right?" "Right," he brightened. "Can we take a picture together for the wall?" It was such a small request, such a normal thing, and it made Maya's heart break a little. "Of course, baby. This weekend, okay?" That night after Diego was asleep, Maya prepared. Not for combat, she wasn't going to the diner expecting a firefight, but prepared nonetheless. She laid out clothes, jeans, boots, a jacket that allowed freedom of movement. She checked her phone, made sure it was fully charged, made sure the GPS tracking app she'd installed for emergencies was active. She didn't carry the weapon. Too risky, too incriminating if things went sideways. But she did carry something else. A small recording device disguised as a pen that could capture audio from 6 feet away. If Chad was planning something, she wanted evidence. Morning came too fast. Maya dropped Diego at school early, watched him through the fence until he disappeared into the building, then drove to the diner. It was exactly the kind of place Chad would choose, public enough to seem safe, isolated enough to have privacy. Truckers stopped there for coffee. Locals grabbed breakfast before work. Nobody paid attention to anyone else. She arrived 20 minutes early, scanned the parking lot. Chad's Range Rover was already there, parked near the back. 2 other vehicles, a pickup truck with construction equipment and a sedan that screamed rental car. Maya parked where she could see the entrance, where she had multiple exit routes, where her car wasn't blocked in. Old habits. Inside, the diner smelled like bacon and coffee. Chad sat in a corner booth, alone, looking significantly less confident than he had in the school parking lot. The bruises from his fall had faded, but his ego was clearly still tender. Maya slid into the booth across from him, didn't order anything, just waited. "Thank you for coming," Chad said. He actually sounded sincere, nervous even. "You said we have a mutual problem." "We do. Jennifer Morrison called me yesterday, asked very pointed questions about my background, my business, whether I'd had any concerning interactions recently with military personnel." Maya's stomach dropped. "What did you tell her?" "Nothing," I hung up, "but she's not going to stop. She's digging into both of us, and I think—" He paused, choosing words carefully. "I think she knows something about you, something big. And you care because—" "Because my business depends on discretion. I deal with high-net-worth clients, government contracts, any negative publicity, any association with whatever you're involved in, it could destroy me." There it was, not concern for Maya, not regret for his actions, just self-preservation. "What are you proposing?" Maya asked. Chad leaned forward. "I know people who can make problems go away, digital footprints erased, reporters discouraged. I'm willing to use those resources to help you on one condition." "Which is?" "You tell me who you really are." Maya almost laughed. "You think I'm going to confess my life story to you?" "I don't need your life story. I just need to understand what I'm dealing with. Because if Morrison publishes something that links me to you, I need to know what kind of blowback to expect." It was almost rational, almost reasonable, except for the part where Chad was admitting he knew people who could discourage reporters. That wasn't normal businessman talk. That was something darker. "Who are these people you know?" Maya asked carefully. "That's not relevant." "It's very relevant, because if you're suggesting what I think you're suggesting—" "I'm suggesting that everyone has problems, and everyone has solutions. Some solutions are just more aggressive than others." The pen in Maya's pocket was recording, capturing every word. She needed him to keep talking, needed him to incriminate himself more clearly. "I'm not interested in hurting anyone," Maya said. "Neither am I. I'm interested in protecting my interests, which currently align with yours. Morrison wants to expose you. I want her to stop asking questions about me. Simple math. And your solution involves these people you know." "My solution involves making the problem go away. How it goes away? Well, that depends on how cooperative Morrison is willing to be." There it was, veiled threat. Not quite explicit enough to be legally damning, but close. "I can't be involved in anything illegal," Maya said. "You won't be, that's the beauty of it. You'll have complete deniability. All I need from you is information. What is Morrison looking for? What does she think she knows? Give me that and I'll handle the rest." Maya's mind raced. This was spiraling in a direction she hadn't anticipated. Chad wasn't just trying to protect his reputation. He was suggesting something that could get Morrison hurt, maybe worse. And that Maya couldn't allow. "I need to think about it," she said. "Don't take too long. Morrison strikes me as the persistent type. The longer you wait, the deeper she digs, and who knows what she'll find." "Is that a threat?" "It's an observation. We're both on borrowed time here. I'm offering you a way out. Smart people take the exit when it's available." Maya stood. "I'll be in touch." "Don't wait too long, Miss Torres, or whoever you really are." She walked out of the diner, her heart pounding, her mind spinning. The recording device in her pocket felt heavy, incriminating, but maybe useful. In her car, she called the secure line. "I need to report a threat," she said when the familiar voice answered. "Go ahead." She explained the meeting, the implications, the veiled suggestions. "Jesus," the voice said, "you attracted some real winners, Wraith. Can you run a background on Chad Berkshire, specifically who his connections are?" "Already on it, but I can tell you right now, if he's suggesting what you think he's suggesting, you need to extract. Today. This is escalating beyond what we can manage remotely." "I'm not running." "Then you're being stupid, and that's not like you." Maybe I'm tired of running. Maybe I want to actually deal with my problems instead of just avoiding them. Noble, also suicidal. These aren't enemies you can fight, Wraith. These are systems, networks, people with resources you don't have anymore. Then what do you suggest? Come in official protection. Testify against Berkshire if he's connected to what I think he is. We take them down together. Legal, clean, safe. And Morrison. We handle her too, properly, through official channels. It was tempting, so tempting, to let someone else shoulder the burden, to stop carrying it all alone. But Maya had learned years ago that official protection came with strings, and those strings eventually turned into chains. I'll think about it, she said. Don't think too long, time's running out. She ended the call, sat in the diner parking lot, watched people come and go. Normal people with normal problems, job stress, family drama, bills to pay, problems that could be solved with hard work and time and maybe therapy. Her problems required something else entirely. Her phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. I know what you're doing, and I know what Berkshire is planning. We need to meet. Immediately, Morrison. How did Morrison know? Had she bugged the diner, tracked Maya's phone? Or did she have her own sources, her own network of information? Maya typed, "Where?" The response came instantly. "Your apartment, 1 hour, come alone." It was risky, dangerous even. Letting Morrison into her home, into the space where Diego lived, where every photograph and document reinforced the lie of Maya Tor's civilian life. But maybe risk was all she had left. Maya drove home, her mind racing through contingencies. She had 58 minutes to prepare, to hide anything incriminating, to create a space that looked exactly like what Morrison expected, a single mother's modest apartment. She worked quickly. The safe went into a storage unit 2 miles away. The documents, the emergency cash, the backup identities, all of it hidden where even a thorough search wouldn't find it. Her service weapon stayed locked in her car trunk, just in case. By the time Morrison knocked, the apartment looked perfect, unremarkable, safe. Maya opened the door. Morrison stood there, no longer professionally dressed, but in jeans and a hoodie, looking younger and more uncertain than in their previous meeting. "Thank you for seeing me," Morrison said. "You didn't give me much choice." "I suppose not. Can I come in?" Maya stepped aside, watched Morrison enter, watched her eyes scan the space, cataloging details. The worn furniture, the crayon drawings on the refrigerator, the bills stacked neatly on the counter. "It's just you and your son?" Morrison asked. "That's right. No family, no support system. We manage." Morrison sat on the couch without being invited, bold or exhausted, hard to tell. "I was at the diner," Morrison said. "Different booth, you didn't see me, but I heard everything." Maya's blood ran cold. "You were following me." "I've been following you for 3 days. And before you get angry, understand that I'm trying to help you. By stalking me. By understanding who you're dealing with. Chad Berkshire isn't just some entitled businessman. He's connected. Seriously connected. Russian mob, if my sources are correct. Money laundering, possibly worse." This changed everything. "How do you know this?" Maya asked. "Because I'm a good reporter, and because I have contacts in law enforcement who owe me favors. Berkshire's been under investigation for 2 years. The feds are building a case. And you," Morrison's eyes locked onto Maya's, "you just became a very interesting complication." "I haven't done anything." "No, but you're connected to him now, and if his network thinks you're a threat." She didn't finish the sentence, didn't need to. Maya sat down, the weight of it all pressing down on her shoulders. "What do you want?" "I want to help you, really, but I need you to trust me." "Trust is earned." "Then let me earn it. Tell me who you really are. Tell me why you're hiding. And I swear on my career, on my life, I will protect your story until it's safe to tell." Maya looked at this woman, this reporter who'd been hunting her for days, this stranger who claimed to want to help, and she made a decision she might regret. "Okay," Maya said quietly, "but not here and not now. My son will be home soon." "Then when?" "Tomorrow night, after Diego's asleep. There's a park 2 blocks from here, 9 p.m. Morrison nodded. "I'll be there." After she left, Maya sat alone in her apartment, wondering if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. Or if maybe she'd finally found an ally. The line between the two had never been thinner. Have you ever told a secret that could get you killed? The park at night was empty except for shadows. Street lights cast pools of yellow against darkness. Maya arrived early as always, her breath visible in the October air. She'd left Diego with Mrs. Chen, the elderly neighbor who babysat occasionally. He'd been excited. Mrs. Chen always had cookies. Morrison arrived exactly on time, professional, punctual. She carried a small backpack, nothing else. "No recording devices," Maya said before Morrison could speak. "I'm a reporter. That's like asking me not to breathe." "Then we don't talk." Morrison hesitated, then pulled a digital recorder from her jacket, then her phone, then a small camera pen. She set them all on the bench between them. "Satisfied?" Maya nodded. She'd done a sweep of the area earlier. No surveillance she could detect, but that didn't mean they were truly alone. Someone was always watching. The question was whether they cared enough to intervene. "Before I tell you anything," Maya said, "I need to know you understand the stakes. This isn't a story about an inspirational woman overcoming odds. This is about operational security, national security, people's lives." "I understand." "Do you? Because once I tell you, you can't unknow it, and that knowledge will make you a target." Morrison's hands trembled slightly. She noticed Maya noticing and tucked them in her pockets. "I've received death threats before, covered drug cartels, corrupt politicians. I know how to be careful." "This is different." "Then help me understand how." Maya took a breath. This was it. The moment she'd been dreading and, if she was honest, maybe hopping for. Because carrying secrets alone was exhausting. And Morrison, for all her faults, seemed genuine. "My name isn't Maya Torres. That identity was created 4 years ago by people whose job is to make people disappear. My real name is Lieutenant Commander Mara Tennyson, United States Navy, SEAL Team 6. Morrison's eyes widened. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "SEAL Team 6, as in the unit that killed Bin Laden." "Yes. Different team, different operators, but same overall structure. I was part of a specialized subunit, called ourselves Ghost Unit. Our job was the missions too classified for regular SEAL operations." "Women aren't allowed in SEAL Team 6. "Officially, no. Unofficially," Maya smiled without humor. "Unofficially, there were 3 of us, me and 2 others. We operated under different protocols, different rules of engagement, different levels of deniability." "Jesus," Morrison sat back processing, "and Diego is my son. His father was an operative too, Delta Force. He died during a joint operation in 2017, Syria. Diego was 6 months old." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It's what we signed up for. But after that mission, after watching him die because intelligence was wrong and backup was late and politics mattered more than lives," Maya's voice hardened, "I started asking questions about the operation, about who authorized it, about why classified intelligence was so spectacularly wrong." "What did you find?" "That's when things got complicated. Because the answers led to places they weren't supposed to lead, to people who weren't supposed to be involved. I found evidence of, let's call it misappropriation. Funds that should have gone to equipment and support being diverted. Operations being compromised because someone was leaking information." Morrison leaned forward. "Who?" High level, Pentagon, maybe higher. I never got confirmation because I was ordered to stand down, ordered to forget what I'd found, ordered to be a good little soldier and shut up. But you didn't. But I didn't. I kept digging, quietly, carefully, and I found more, enough to build a case, enough to expose corruption that went back years, enough to get myself killed. The park was silent except for distant traffic, Morrison processing, Maya wondering if she'd said too much. What happened then? Morrison asked. I was given a choice. Die in a convenient training accident with full honors, or actually die messily, along with everyone I cared about. They made it very clear which option they preferred. So you chose the training accident. I chose to protect my son, closed casket funeral, honor guard, flags and tears and a grave that holds nothing but weighted sand. Lieutenant Commander Mara Tennyson died. Maya Torres was born, single mother, medical assistant, nobody. Morrison was quiet for a long moment, but you kept the evidence. Of course I kept the evidence. Insurance, in case they decided one dead seal wasn't enough. And where is this evidence now? Safe, hidden, multiple redundant backups. If anything happens to me, it gets released, automatically. That's been my guarantee of safety, mutually assured destruction. Except now I know, and Berkshire is digging, and that safety is compromised. Exactly. Morrison stood, paced a few steps, turned back. You realize what you're sitting on, right? This could bring down major players, change policy, expose criminal activity at the highest levels. I know. Then why haven't you released it? Maya stood too, facing her. Because I'm a mother first, and releasing that information puts Diego in the crossfire. These people don't play by rules. They don't care about innocence or morality or justice. They care about self-preservation. And the easiest way to ensure my silence is to hurt what I love. So you're just going to carry this forever, live in fear forever. I'm living. That's more than I'd have if I went public. Morrison pulled out her phone despite her earlier agreement. Maya tensed, but Morrison wasn't recording. She was pulling up files, photos, documents. I've been investigating Berkshire for 6 weeks, Morrison said. Before I ever knew about you. He's not just Russian mob. He's a facilitator, money laundering for multiple organizations, including, if my sources are correct, the same networks you were investigating. Maya's world tilted. What? The corruption you found, the leaked intelligence, the diverted funds, it's all connected. Berkshire is a small piece of a much larger operation. And you, Morrison looked up from her phone, you stumbled into their backyard, twice. Once when you investigated, again when you moved here. That's impossible. This location was chosen randomly, computer-generated options, no human decision that could be compromised. Are you sure about that? Maya wasn't, not anymore. Show me what you have, she said. Morrison pulled up documents, financial records, email chains, photographs of meetings that shouldn't have happened. It was detailed, thorough, and it painted a picture that made Maya's blood run cold. The network she'd exposed 4 years ago hadn't been dismantled. It had grown, evolved, spread into civilian sectors, and Berkshire was one of their assets. If this is true, Maya started, then you running here wasn't escape. It was walking into a trap you didn't know existed. How long have they known? That you're here, I don't know, maybe since the beginning, maybe only recently. But the parking lot incident, it put you on their radar, and once you were on their radar, they started planning. Maya finished the thought. Berkshire's offer, it wasn't about protection, it was about identification, confirmation that the woman who disappeared 4 years ago was still alive. And now they know for sure. Maya sat back down, her mind racing through scenarios. Extraction was still possible. The agency could move them tonight. New identities, new location, really disappear this time. But for how long? If this network was as extensive as Morrison suggested, there was nowhere to hide. They'd keep finding her, keep threatening, keep pushing until either she was dead or they were. "I'm tired of running," Maya said quietly. "Then don't run, fight." "Fight with what? I'm one person. One former SEAL with no backup, no authority, no resources. They have money, connections, political protection. What do I have?" Morrison sat beside her. "You have evidence, you have knowledge, and now," she smiled slightly, "you have a reporter who's very good at making noise." "Making noise gets you killed." "Sometimes, but it also gets attention, and attention brings scrutiny, and scrutiny is what these people fear most." Morrison's voice strengthened. "You've been playing defense for 4 years, hiding, surviving. What if we went on offense?" "You're talking about going public." "I'm talking about strategic release. Controlled narrative. We expose enough to protect you, not enough to endanger operations that are still valid. We target the corrupt players while shielding the good ones." "That's a tightrope." "So is your current situation. At least this way, you're moving forward instead of waiting for the inevitable." Maya wanted to say no, wanted to protect Diego the way she'd been protecting him, keep him safe through invisibility and distance and careful lies. But invisibility wasn't working anymore. "I need to think about it," Maya said. "You don't have much time. Berkshire is moving. I'd give you 3 days before he makes his next play. After that," Morrison shrugged, "after that, choices get made for you." They sat in silence, two women in a park, discussing things that could topple governments, or get them both killed. Hard to know which was more likely. "If I do this," Maya said finally, "I need guarantees. For Diego, complete protection. Witness protection if necessary." "I can arrange that. I have contacts in federal law enforcement, people who care more about justice than politics. Those people are rare. But they exist, and they're waiting for someone brave enough to pull the trigger." Maya looked at Morrison, really looked at her, saw the determination, the belief, the idealism that hadn't quite been crushed by reality yet. It was simultaneously inspiring and terrifying. "I'll give you my answer tomorrow," Maya said. "Fair enough." They stood. Morrison gathered her devices. Maya watched her leave, wondered if she'd just set in motion something that would save them or destroy them. The walk home was quiet. Mrs. Chen had already left, payment on the counter. Diego was asleep in his bed, his stuffed whale clutched tight. Maya sat beside him, watching him breathe, this small perfect person who'd never asked to be part of this. Her phone buzzed, secure line. "I know you met with Morrison," the voice said. "And before you ask, yes, we're monitoring you, for your protection." "Doesn't feel protective." "What did you tell her?" "The truth." Silence, then, "Jesus, Wraith, do you have any idea what you've done?" "Started a process that was inevitable. Started a war you can't win." "Maybe, or maybe I've finally decided that winning isn't the same as surviving." "Those are pretty words. They'll look great on your tombstone." "Is there a point to this call?" "The point is we can still extract you, still protect you, but you have to move now, tonight, before this spirals further." Maya looked at Diego, at his room, at the life they'd built from scraps and hope and endless vigilance. "No," she said. "No. No, I'm done running. Whatever happens next, it happens here, where I can see it coming." "You're making a mistake." "Probably, but it's my mistake to make." The line went dead. Maya sat in the darkness, listening to her son breathe, and wondered if courage and stupidity were sometimes the same thing. Outside, the city continued its rhythms, unaware, uncaring, innocent people sleeping while people like Maya fought battles they'd never know about. And tomorrow, she'd make a decision that would change everything. Or end it. Hard to know which. But at least she'd be choosing. At least she'd be done being a ghost. even if becoming real meant becoming a target. What does it feel like when your past finally catches up? The call came at 3:47 a.m. Maya was already awake, had been for hours, staring at the ceiling, running scenarios. When her phone buzzed, she knew before answering it wouldn't be good news. Wraith, the voice was different this time. Older authority. This is Director Harris, we need to talk. Director Harris, head of the entire program. The person who'd approved her death 4 years ago. The person who held more secrets than anyone should. I'm listening. You've been talking to a reporter. You've been making connections. He paused. You've been compromising operational security in ways that could affect active missions, active operators, active lives. I haven't revealed anything that would. You revealed yourself. To a civilian. That alone is enough to nullify every protection we've given you. Maya's blood ran cold. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality. The deal was silence for safety. You broke silence. We're no longer obligated to provide safety. So what? You're going to kill me now. Really complete the job this time. Don't be dramatic. We're professionals. We don't kill our own without cause, but we also don't protect liabilities. As of this moment, you're on your own. No backup. No support. No safety net. Whatever happens next is on you. I can live with that. Can you? Because Berkshire isn't our only concern. There are other players, other networks, people who have been very curious about the woman who supposedly died in 2020. Your little performance in that parking lot got their attention. Your meetings with Morrison confirmed their suspicions. And now, Harris's voice dropped. Now they're moving, fast. What kind of moving? The kind where you have maybe 12 hours to get your son somewhere safe before very bad people show up asking very direct questions. Maya was already out of bed, already pulling on clothes, already running through extraction protocols she'd hoped never to use. Who specifically? She demanded. Does it matter? Point is they're coming. Multiple teams, different motivations but same target, you. The evidence, they want the evidence. Obviously, but they also want confirmation that it's destroyed, which means they want you, alive at least initially. After that, Harris didn't finish. Why are you telling me this? Because despite everything, you were one of the best operators I ever commanded, and because, he sighed, because you're not wrong about the corruption, about the networks, about things that need to be exposed. I just wish you'd chosen a less suicidal way to do it. Help me then. Official protection, federal custody, whatever it takes. Can't. Political pressure from above. You've become too hot to touch. The moment we officially acknowledge you exist, we open investigations we're not ready to handle. Better you stay dead on paper. Then what are you suggesting? Run, really run this time. Not new identity in same country. I'm talking international. We have protocols for extreme cases. South America, Southeast Asia, places where even determined enemies have trouble operating. And Diego goes with you obviously. Kid's smart, resilient, he'll adapt. Maya looked at her son's closed door, imagined waking him up, imagined telling him they had to leave everything. Again, imagined the betrayal in his eyes. There has to be another way, she said. There isn't, not one where you both survive intact. What if I release the evidence, public disclosure, remove the incentive to come after me? Then you become an even bigger target. Public embarrassment is worse than private knowledge for people like this. They'd make an example of you, slowly, painfully, publicly. Jesus. Yeah, I'm sorry, Wraith, really, but this is what happens when you poke hornets' nests. Eventually they swarm. The line went dead. Maya stood in her apartment in the darkness, feeling the walls closing in. 12 hours, maybe less. She could pack, could run, could load Diego in the car and drive until they hit ocean or border or the edge of maps. Or she could make a stand. Her phone buzzed again. Morrison this time. I found something big, meet me in 1 hour, same park. Maya checked the time, 4:15 a.m. Meeting Morrison was risky, could be a trap, could be surveillance, but it could also be the information she needed to change the equation. She called Mrs. Chen. Emergency, I need you to take Diego for the day, no questions. Mrs. Chen, bless her, didn't ask. I'll be there in 20 minutes. By the time Morrison arrived at the park, Maya had already swept the area twice. Clean, or as clean as anywhere could be when multiple organizations wanted you dead. Morrison looked terrible, eyes red, hair disheveled, running on coffee and adrenaline. You look like hell, Maya said. You should see the other guy, figuratively speaking. Morrison pulled out her tablet. I've been working all night, cross-referencing financial records, shell companies, offshore accounts, and I found it, the connection. Connection to what? To everything. Berkshire isn't just money laundering. He's the financial hub for the entire operation. Every diverted dollar, every compromised mission, every piece of corruption you found, it all flows through his network. Morrison showed her the evidence. Spreadsheets, transaction records, a web of connections that stretched from Pentagon to Moscow to accounts in Cayman Islands. It was comprehensive, damning, exactly what prosecutors would need to bring charges. How did you get this? Maya asked. I have sources, good ones, people who want this exposed as much as you do. Morrison looked up. But here's the thing, I can't publish this alone, I need corroboration. I need your evidence to support mine. Together we have a case that could actually stick. Together we're also targets. We're already targets. At least this way, we're targets who can fight back. Maya looked at the data, at the proof, at everything she'd sacrificed to protect now being offered as a weapon instead of a shield. If we do this, Maya said slowly, we have to do it smart, strategic, not just dump everything public and hope for the best. Agreed, I've been working with editors, lawyers, federal contacts. We release it in stages. First wave targets the most egregious offenders, creates pressure, forces mistakes. Then we follow up with supporting evidence. Death by 1,000 cuts. How long before the first wave hits? I can have the story ready by tonight, published by tomorrow morning, but I need your files, the classified stuff, the operations records, the proof that this isn't just financial crime but compromised national security. This was it, the moment of commitment. Once Maya handed over that evidence, there was no going back, no more hiding, no more pretending to be someone she wasn't. I need guarantees, Maya said. For Diego, federal protection starting immediately. Already arranged. Marshal Service is standing by. They'll take him into custody as soon as you give the word. Complete protection. New identity, new location. You'll see him again, but it might be a while. How long? Depends on how this plays out. Could be weeks, could be months, could be. Morrison didn't finish. Could be never, Maya thought. Could be Diego grows up wondering why his mother abandoned him. Could be he learns the truth and hates her for it. Could be a lot of things, none of them good. There's one other option, Morrison said quietly. Which is? You come with him, into protection. Give your testimony from safety. Let the prosecutors handle it from there. It was tempting, so tempting, to let someone else carry the weight, to be protected instead of protector, to just survive. But Maya had been surviving for 4 years, and survival wasn't the same as living. No, she said. I stay. I testify publicly if needed. I face what's coming instead of running from it. That's brave, also potentially fatal. Probably, but Diego deserves a mother who fought back, who stood for something, who didn't just hide forever. Morrison nodded, respect in her eyes. Okay, then here's how we do this. They talked for an hour, strategy, timeline, contingencies. By the time sun rose, they had a plan, risky, dangerous, possibly suicidal, but a plan nonetheless. Maya went home, found Mrs. Chen making breakfast, found Diego eating pancakes oblivious. "Sweetie," Maya sat beside him, "we need to talk." He looked at her with those dark eyes, so trusting, so innocent, and she felt her heart break. "Are we moving again?" he asked quietly. "You are, I'm not, not yet anyway." "I don't understand." "I know, and I'm sorry, but some things are happening, adult things, complicated things, and to keep you safe you need to go stay with some friends for a while." "What friends?" "People I trust, people who will take care of you until this is over." Diego's face crumpled. "I don't want to go." "I know, baby. I don't want you to go either, but I need you to be brave. Can you do that for me?" "How long?" "I don't know." "Mom," his voice broke, "are you in danger?" She could lie, should lie, protect him from truth too heavy for 7-year-old shoulders. But she'd lied enough. "Maybe, yes, probably, but I'm going to be okay. I'm very good at protecting myself." "Then why can't I stay with you?" "Because protecting you is more important than protecting me. Always has been, always will be." He started crying, real tears, the kind that come from fear and confusion and the terrible knowledge that adults can't always fix everything. Maya held him, let him cry, memorized the weight of him, the smell of his hair, the way his small body fit against hers. "I love you so much," she whispered, "more than anything in any world, and I will see you again. I promise." "You can't promise that." He was right, she couldn't, but she did anyway, because sometimes lies are kinder than truth. The marshals arrived at noon, professional, kind. They explained things to Diego in terms he could almost understand: witness protection, temporary safety. He clung to Maya at the door, wouldn't let go. Finally, she had to physically release his grip, hand him to the female marshal who'd knelt to his level with genuine compassion. "Be brave," Maya told him. "Be strong, be good, and know that everything I'm doing is for you." They took him. She watched the car drive away, watched until it disappeared. Then she went inside and cried, really cried, the kind of crying that comes from your soul. When she was done, she washed her face, changed clothes, became someone else, someone harder, someone ready for war. Morrison called, "It's done. Story goes live in 3 hours. Are you ready?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." "That's the spirit. Federal agents will be at your door in 90 minutes. They'll take your statement, get the evidence, start processing. And then we see who blinks first." Maya spent those 90 minutes preparing, not for testimony, for what came after, because people like Berkshire, like the networks he represented, didn't go down easy. They fought back, viciously. When the agents arrived, she gave them everything. The files, the evidence, the testimony, all of it, burned every bridge, destroyed every safety net. Became either a hero or a dead woman, possibly both. The interview took 4 hours. They were thorough, professional, impressed though they tried to hide it. "This is significant," the lead agent said finally. "Career-making. Multiple agencies will be involved: justice, defense, intelligence. This is big." "I know. You understand you're now a key witness in a federal investigation. That means protection, restrictions. Your life won't be your own for a while." "I understand." "Good, we'll have a team on you within the hour. Armed, trained, you'll be safe." Maya almost laughed. Safe, as if 4 armed agents could stop what was coming. Morrison's story broke at 6 p.m. Front page, national coverage, complete with documentation, enough details to be credible, enough redaction to protect sources. The reaction was immediate: denials, threats, emergency meetings. By midnight, 3 high-ranking Pentagon officials had resigned. By morning, congressional hearings were being scheduled. And somewhere in the darkness, people who'd stayed hidden for decades started moving. Coming for the woman who'd exposed them. Coming for Maya Torres, for Mara Tennyson, for the ghost who'd refused to stay dead. She sat in her apartment, federal agents stationed outside, and waited for the storm she'd unleashed. Diego was safe. That's all that mattered. Everything else was just details. Even if those details included her own survival. When does a ghost finally become real? 3 days after Morrison's story broke, Maya's apartment had become a fortress. Federal agents rotated shifts. Surveillance equipment monitored every approach. Her phone rang constantly. Prosecutors, investigators, journalists all wanting pieces of her truth. But late at night, when the city slept and her guards thought she couldn't hear, Maya listened to their conversations. The worried ones, about threats, about intercepted communications, about how long they could actually keep her safe against enemies this determined. She'd made herself the bait. Now she waited for the trap to spring. It happened on day 4. Maya was giving her statement to federal prosecutors, the 8th time she'd told the story, each iteration more detailed than the last, when the building's fire alarm triggered. Standard protocol: evacuate. The lead agent, Marcus, moved her toward the stairwell. His partner, Sarah, took point. They made it 2 floors before Maya's instincts screamed. "Stop," she said. Marcus paused. "Ma'am, we need to." "It's not a drill, listen." In the stairwell below, echoing up, footsteps, too precise, too measured, the kind of cadence trained operators used when clearing buildings. Backup stairwell, Marcus decided. They reversed course. But when they opened that door, smoke billowed out, not fire smoke, chemical tear gas. They were being funneled, herded, exactly where the enemy wanted them. "Roof," Maya said. "It's the only option." "The roof is a kill box." "Everything is a kill box right now. At least the roof has sky." They went up. 5 flights, Maya's heart pounding not from exertion but from recognition. She'd run operations like this. Knew the playbook. Multiple teams, multiple approaches. Overwhelming force designed to leave no escape. Whoever was coming had military training. Probably private contractors. Definitely expensive. The roof access door was locked. Sarah kicked it once, twice. On the 3rd kick, Maya gently moved her aside, pulled a small tool from her pocket, habits died hard, and had it open in 8 seconds. Both agents stared. "Medical assistant, remember," Maya said with a grim smile. The roof was exactly what she expected. Flat, exposed, nowhere to hide. But also something the attackers might not anticipate. She knew this building, had memorized exits during her first week here, had planned for this exact scenario even while hopping it would never come. "Adjacent building," Maya pointed. "Fire escape on the west side. Gap is maybe 8 feet. "That's impossible," Sarah said. "It's survivable, which is more than we'll be if we stay here." Gunfire echoed in the stairwell below, close, getting closer. Marcus made the decision. "You first, then the witness I'll cover." "Negative," Maya said. "I'm smallest, I go last. If I don't make it, the evidence is already submitted. The story's already out, I'm expendable." "Ma'am." "That's an order, go." Something in her voice, the commander she used to be bleeding through the civilian she pretended to be, made them obey. Sarah jumped first, made it, barely, rolled on landing, came up ready. Marcus went next, heavier, older, didn't quite clear the gap, his fingers caught the edge. Sarah grabbed him, hauled him up. The stairwell door exploded open behind Maya. 4 operators, black tactical gear, suppressed weapons, professional. She ran, built up speed. The gap approached impossibly fast, 8 feet, simple physics. She'd made harder jumps in training. But that was years ago, different body, different circumstances. She jumped. The world went slow. Airborne, the gap beneath her, the building rushing up. For a second she thought she'd miscalculated. Too short, too weak, too old. Then Marcus's hand caught her wrist, strong grip. Iron, he pulled, she helped, scrambled over the edge, safe. Behind them, the operators aimed, but they didn't fire. Not yet. Orders were probably to take her alive, to recover the evidence, to make her disappear properly this time. Move, Maya gasped. They ran, down the fire escape, into the alley. Sarah had her phone out, calling for backup, for support, for cavalry that might arrive in time to matter. A black SUV screeched around the corner. Maya's training kicked in. She recognized the approach pattern, not friendlies. Split up, she ordered. They want me, draw them off. We don't leave witnesses, Marcus said firmly. You don't have a choice. They'll kill you to get to me. At least this way you might survive to testify about what happened here. The SUV's doors opened. 4 more operators, professional kit, military movement patterns. Maya made the decision for them. Broke right, ran, drew the enemy's attention. Behind her she heard Marcus curse, heard Sarah shouting into her phone, heard footsteps as the operators pursued. She'd run this scenario 100 times in training. Urban evasion, E&E tactics, how to disappear in a city that wanted you found. The problem was, she wasn't 25 anymore, wasn't at peak conditioning, was running on fear and adrenaline and memories of when her body could do things it maybe couldn't anymore. She cut through an alley, vaulted a dumpster, took a corner too fast and nearly slipped on wet pavement. Behind her, the operators maintained distance, not trying to close, hurting again, pushing her somewhere. Another SUV appeared ahead, blocked the path, forced the turn. They were good, professional. This wasn't a kill team. This was an extraction team. They wanted her intact. Which meant they still thought she had something they needed. Maya stopped running, stood in the middle of the alley, hands visible, breathing hard but controlled. When the operators approached, she spoke clearly. I already gave the files to federal prosecutors. Everything is on record. Killing me achieves nothing. The lead operator paused, spoke into his comm, listened, looked at Maya with something like respect. Orders are to bring you in anyway, he said. American accent, probably ex-military. Make it easier on everyone if you cooperate. Who's paying you? Does it matter? It matters to me. He almost smiled. Private contractors work for whoever signs checks. You know how it works. She had worked with people like this. Respected them even, warriors for hire, no politics, just missions and money. You know what I exposed, Maya said. You know who I'm targeting. Some of those people might be your former commanders, your friends. Do you really want to help them bury the truth? Truth doesn't pay my mortgage. Fair enough. Maya calculated odds, 4 operators with her, at least 4 more behind. Federal backup maybe 5 minutes out. She could fight, could try, probably die in the attempt. Or she could do something unexpected. I'll come with you, she said, on one condition. You're not in a position to negotiate. I'm in exactly that position, because what you really want isn't me. It's confirmation that the evidence is secure, that I can't release more, that the damage is contained. The operator's eyes narrowed. Keep talking. Let me make one call, verify my son is safe. After that, I'll cooperate fully. Tell you where the backups are, how to access them, everything. You get what you need. I get peace of mind. He considered, spoke into calm again, longer conversation this time. Finally, one call, 2 minutes, monitored. He handed her a phone, clean, encrypted, professional equipment. Maya dialed the number she'd memorized, the one that connected to the Marshal Service, to Diego's protection detail. It rang 3 times, then, this is Deputy Marshal Chen. It's Maya Torres. I need verbal confirmation of witness safety status. Pause, clicking, then, witness is secure, location undisclosed, health status good, do you need? No, that's all, thank you. She hung up. Diego was safe. Whatever happened next, that remained true. Satisfied, the operator asked. Almost, one more thing. We had a deal. The deal was one call. I made one call, but I didn't say what I wanted after. Before he could respond, Maya's hand shot out, grabbed his comm unit, threw it as hard as she could into the sewer grate. Backup locations are in multiple secure sites, she said quickly, already moving. Federal buildings, news organizations, law firms, cloud storage with dead man switches. You can't contain this. It's already out, already protected, already immortal. The operator lunged. Maya was already running, back the way she'd come, where federal backup would be arriving. She heard gunfire, suppressed, professional. Rounds sparked off pavement near her feet, warning shots, still trying to take her alive. But Maya had changed the equation, proven the evidence was secured, made herself less valuable as an asset, more trouble than she was worth. Sometimes the best weapon was removing your enemy's motivation to fight. She burst onto the main street just as 3 federal vehicles arrived. Agents poured out, weapons drawn, shouting. The operators behind her melted away. Professional retreat. Mission compromised, not worth the exposure. Maya collapsed against a federal car, hands on hood, breathing hard, alive. Marcus appeared, bleeding from a cut on his forehead, but alive too. That was the stupidest, bravest thing I've ever seen. Did it work? You're alive, the evidence is safe. I'd call that a win. Federal agents swarmed the area, securing perimeter, checking for threats, standard protocols. One of them approached Maya, older, authoritative. Badge identified him as Assistant Director Wallace. Ms. Torres, or should I say Commander Tennyson. Maya is fine. Well, Maya, you've created quite the situation. 3 congressional investigations, 4 Pentagon resignations, international diplomatic incidents, media circus, and now an attempted extraction in broad daylight. Sorry. Don't be. You did what needed doing. Exposed corruption that should have been exposed years ago. Protected evidence that could change how we operate as a nation. He paused. But you understand you're now the most protected witness in federal custody. We can't let anything happen to you. I understand. Good, because we need you alive for testimony. Multiple trials could take years. Years, Diego growing up without her, protected but alone, safe but motherless. Can I see my son? Maya asked quietly. Wallace's expression softened. Not yet. Not until we're certain the threat is neutralized, but soon, I promise. It wasn't enough, but it was something. That night, relocated to a federal safe house, Maya sat alone in a room that looked like every other federal safe house. Beige walls, functional furniture, reinforced windows. Protection that felt like a prison. Her phone buzzed. Secure line, Morrison. You're alive, the reporter said, relief in her voice. Jesus, when I heard about the attack. I'm hard to kill. Apparently. Listen, the story is exploding. International coverage. Calls for UN investigations. Your evidence is doing exactly what we hoped. Good. But it's not over. The people we expose, they're not going to stop. They'll keep coming, keep trying, until either I'm dead or they are. Morrison was quiet. Then, you know what I realized? You're not doing this for justice. You're doing it for your son. Everything I do is for my son. Then maybe it's time to trust that the systems you've set in motion can work without you, that the evidence stands on its own, that you've done enough. Have I? More than enough. You've given us everything needed to prosecute, to expose, to change things. Now maybe it's time to let others carry that weight. Maya looked out the reinforced window at a city that didn't know her name, didn't know what she'd sacrificed, didn't know that a former SEAL had just dismantled a corruption network that threatened national security. And that was okay. Heroes didn't need recognition. They needed to know they'd made a difference. When can I see Diego? Maya asked. Working on it, maybe a week, maybe less. The threat assessment is ongoing. Tell him I love him. You can tell him yourself soon. After Morrison hung up, Maya sat in the quiet, exhausted, scared, but also something else. Free. For 4 years she'd carried the weight of secrets, of evidence, of truth too dangerous to speak. She'd lived in fear, in hiding, in the shadows. Now the truth was out, the evidence was public, the secrets were exposed. She was still in danger, still protected, still separated from her son. But she wasn't hiding anymore. Wasn't pretending. Wasn't a ghost. Lieutenant Commander Mara Tennyson had died 4 years ago. Maya Torres had lived in her place. But now, maybe, she could be someone new. Someone who didn't have to choose between truth and safety, between justice and survival. Someone who'd stood up, who'd fought back, who'd refused to let the powerful silence the powerless. A knock at the door. Agent Sarah entered with food, a small kindness, human connection in an inhuman situation. "You okay?" Sarah asked. "I will be. For what it's worth, what you did today, that was some serious operator-level thinking. The jump, the distraction, the way you turned their own tactics against them. I had good training. Best in the world from what I hear." Sarah smiled. "Your son's going to be proud when he's old enough to understand." "I hope so. I hope he understands why I had to do this, why I had to risk everything." "He will, because you did it for him. And kids always understand love, even when they don't understand the details." After Sarah left, Maya ate mechanically, showered, lay in a bed that wasn't hers, in a room that wasn't home, in a life that wasn't the one she'd planned. But she was alive. Diego was safe. The truth was out. Sometimes that had to be enough. Her phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity or maybe habit made her pick up. Wraith, Director Harris's voice. "Hell of a show today." "Sorry. I know we said you were on your own, but watching you work reminded me why we recruited you in the first place. You're still one of the best." "I'm retired." "Are you? Because what you did today wasn't the work of a retired operator. That was active duty level operational thinking." "What's your point?" "My point is the war isn't over. The networks you exposed, they're bigger than we thought. International, sprawling. We're going to need good people to help dismantle them. People who understand how to operate in the gray areas." "I have a son." "I know, and he needs a mother who's alive, which is why I'm offering official protection, real protection, the kind that lets you see him while still doing the work that matters." Maya closed her eyes. Imagine Diego, imagine holding him, imagine telling him the truth someday about who she was, what she'd done, why it mattered. "I'll think about it," she said. "Don't think too long. Bad guys don't wait for us to be ready." The line went dead. Maya turned off her phone, turned off the lights, lay in the darkness thinking about choices and consequences, and the weight of secrets finally lifted. Tomorrow, federal prosecutors would prep her for testimony. Media would continue their frenzy. Congressional hearings would begin. The machinery of justice, slow but inevitable, would grind forward. But tonight, Maya Torres, Mara Tennyson, whoever she really was, just needed to be a mother who missed her son and a woman who'd finally stopped running. Outside the safe house, federal agents maintained watch, professional, dedicated, protecting a witness who'd exposed truths that needed exposing. Inside, a former Navy SEAL closed her eyes and, for the first time in 4 years, slept without nightmares. Because sometimes dignity doesn't speak, it simply acts. It stands up when staying down would be easier. It fights when running would be safer. It protects what matters, even when the cost is everything. Maya had paid that cost, had made that stand, had proven that one person, armed with truth and determination, could challenge systems designed to keep secrets buried forever. The war wasn't over, maybe never would be, but she'd won the battle that mattered most. She'd refused to disappear, refused to stay silent, refused to let fear dictate her choices. And in the morning, when the sun rose over a city that still didn't know her name, Maya Torres would wake up as exactly who she needed to be. Not a ghost, not a lie, not a hiding woman hoping the past would stay buried, but a mother who'd fought for her son, a warrior who'd stood for truth, a human being who'd chosen courage over comfort. And sometimes, in a world full of darkness, that was heroism enough.